bandwidth to stream well. Okay. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to do some writing HTML with JavaScript, which is not recommended, but the concepts behind it is something I'm using all the time. So, but before we do that, we had a question from Marina, so I want to work on that first. Marina, can you share the URL that you're working on this for? And maybe you can share the problem.
Mm-hmm. Second. Okay. So I have this banner dismiss function. Now, if you all go to this page, you will be able to see it. But I dismissed it once, and I'm not able to see it again. But what I want to achieve is after 24 hours, this script to reset, and everyone can see the banner again.
Cool. So this banner right up here, I think everybody should see my screen now. And now when I refresh it, it's gone. Cool. So here is the code you've written so far. And the approach you're taking, it looks like, is local storage. So in theory, this could work. Working with time, date and time in JavaScript is a pretty big pain, and usually you want to use a library to handle it. I think JavaScript by default uses milliseconds from like 1969, so it's not easy to translate. So instead of doing that, what I think we can do is we can set a cookie. So let's actually use Slater here. I'd like to show a banner to a new user after the first visit. I'd like to hide the banner for 24 hours. Let's go broad to start with and see how they come back. Okay, so here we are. You'll notice there's a few issues with the streaming of the data. So we've got a fix for that. That just needs to get pushed. Okay, so here it says it is going to use a cookie, which when I saw this problem, the first thing I did is I went to see if local storage has an expiration date, and it does not. And so that's why a cookie is going to be a better tool to do this. So we can get a cookie and use this visited before, and we can also set this cookie. So if cookie last visit, let's try moving some of this into the project. Do you mind if I remove all of this, Marina?
I don't mind.
Anything? Is this all the same kind of
Yes,
solutioning for that one problem? Okay, cool. So let's drag this out. And okay, so we've got the if statement get cookie. although we're missing a get cookie function, which seems like a problem. We like to use a combination of cookies and delete. Okay, so it's weird because it's writing functions that we don't have yet. So can you write a function that gets the cookie last visited? Okay, that looks about right. So here we're going to get the cookie from the document. We're going to split it. This is assuming there could be multiple cookies. So we'll go through and return the cookie. So let's also write the set cookie. You also write the set cookie function. Okay, so set cookie is going to take a name, a value, and days. So expires, set time. So let's set this cookie just, we have it? Okay, so last visited, new date, and we just want one day. So we should just be able to refresh the page and this should all work. I'm going to hide this. I need to think about that part, but this other code looks generally right. So let's also console just to make sure we're getting what we think. And I want to console exactly what this value is. Okay, so if we come back here and we inspect, okay, so here's our cookie, last visited. It gives it a date of today, date 40, and it expires tomorrow at 14:40 GMT. That's a little weird, but that's probably about right. You can also see this in we can see that the cookie is set here in application. The place I used to go look at it was here, but they changed this up, and I'm not sure if we can see it here anymore. You just delete it here. So we had a last visited cookie. Yeah, so here it's set. So that looks good. That's what we wanted. Here's the expiration, I assume. Okay, so we've set the cookie. Everything's good. If we refresh the page, we're going to reset it, I assume. And so it's now, did that get reset? Yeah, 8:42. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's probably a good thing. Do we want to do it 24 hours since they last visited? Marina, does that sound right? Okay, so we've set the cookie, and that's good. We can now get the cookie. So let's comment this out because we don't want to keep resetting it for no reason. The get cookie we should just be able to do this and call it last visited. So let's just make sure we console something. Okay, we should see the last visited, which should be that date. Okay, so cookie, here's that date. This is the time it was last set. So that's good. So now when a user comes to this page, the first thing we want to do is get the cookie. Let's actually just say let last visited equals that cookie time. And if last visited, then this just makes it a date object. This gets us a now date object. Hours since last visit is going to be now minus last visit. This is math that seems right, but not exactly sure. And so we just want to hide this now. This is where I should not have deleted all the Marina's code. Let's see if we can go back. Nope, I lost it. Marina, so here we have this hours since last visit. If it's less than 24 hours, hide the banner. Do you know how to hide the banner?
I think we should need to show the banner actually, because we reversed the code. I will just find it now. The original one. I have it somewhere. A second. It was this one. Okay.
Okay, so let's take a quick look at this code. Okay, show banner. Get that. Navigation label. This is the key piece we need. What's this click supposed to do?
Dismiss. When we click the X like icon to dismiss it.
Okay. Cool. So that showed it, but then it hid it again. Is there any other JavaScript that would be impacting that?
Oh, I don't think so.
Did you remove it from the project settings?
But the Slater is in the project setting. I will check now.
Okay.
Yeah, my sense is there's something that's hiding it.
It is initially hidden. I don't know if that is. I don't know. Let me see. Just to be sure.
Is it maybe Jared written in your local, the code that you did before, that was there before when you...
Yeah, but we removed that code, so...
Yeah, I know, but let me go local storage or something.
Let's see.
Okay, so that shows up now. If I hit this, but let's take a look at, let's step through our code. Okay, so we have no last visited. So we don't have a place where we're setting the set cookie. Like we just did that by running this here. I think this is probably good though. We should just run this set cookie each time they hit the page. This is super lightweight. I don't think it would impact, it shouldn't impact the performance at all. So if we set the cookie each time, then this last visited is always going to have a value. So we could say, let's do this. If we don't have a cookie, we set the cookie. And then okay, so we now have a cookie. So if we don't have a cookie, we want to show this. So last visited is true. There's a value here. And so that's why it's not showing. If we just close down this incognito browser and try this again, shoot, I would have expected it to so let's just console.log has cookie doesn't have cookie. Okay, so it has a cookie. So I'm going to try closing this one more time. If we run it again. Okay, so that's good. It did show that time. So it doesn't have cookie. We set the cookie. So now if we refresh, it shouldn't be there. Is that correct, Marina? Are we missing anything on that piece?
That's it. The only thing I wonder is it gonna be like the timer, like 24 hours? Is it gonna work?
Yeah. So what's gonna happen?
One thing is missing because it needs to show as long as they don't click X button. Once they click X button, we start the cookie. So that was initially how it would work, not just on their first visit, but once
on the dismiss.
Clear. Yeah.
Thank you. Let me.
Okay, so we can do that. So we're gonna do an on-click event. And when you click that, that is when we are going to set this cookie. So we can move this here. So we set that cookie. After that cookie is set, we don't do anything. I'm going to hide this for now. I don't think we use that. So if there is no cookie, we show this. What's the click event going to be on?
You have it in that code underneath.
This
Marina shared.
Select dismiss banner and.
Perfect. So put this in. I don't know if we want to use that. I don't think we need it, but you can go in here if you need to delete cookies. Incognito is like a quick way of making sure those cookies don't save, but if you wanted to, you could come in here and just start deleting cookies. So it doesn't have a cookie. Oh, it's weird how it does that twitch. I feel like there's some other code running that we haven't accounted for.
They have some codes for your URL, getting the URL. I don't know if that.
Okay, so this seems good. So now if we close this, we've set the cookie. So now if we refresh it, it has a cookie, and so it's not showing the modal. So the one piece that we still need to test on this is, does it actually expire? So that gets into kind of the ugly math of this, because our set cookie is accepting days, and it's using this math to account for those days. So what I want to do is I just want to change this to some really short period of time. It's just kind of doing, yeah. So you got to do all the math to get that 1 minute right. So if we just say 60 times 1,000 milliseconds, I imagine this is 1 minute. Because this would be milliseconds, minutes, hours, days. So let's try that out. So I'm going to restart here. Okay, so we show that correctly. We set this, and now nothing's showing. And let's come back to this later and see if it starts showing. But otherwise, do you feel like we're missing anything, Marina or Lemmy?
No, it looks good so far.
The cookies in local storage is kind of a superpower that a lot of kind of beginner developers don't really understand how to work with. So it is really nice to have this. And like this kind of stuff this is something I would just copy and paste from Stack Overflow in the past. So it's nice to just be able to ask Slater and have it kind of return a good result, because there are probably like 50 different implementations of getting cookies, and knowing which one's the best is not always that easy. Slater may not be returning the best one, but it's certainly workable. And so, yeah, pretty happy with how easy that was, given Slater being able to write a bunch of this code.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, but again, working with yeah, it takes a little bit of experience. I'll admit that. But the dealing with date time is a huge hassle. Like there's probably a handful of people who understand how to do it well, because not only do you have to just worry about like milliseconds, but at some point you're going to have to start worrying about time zones, and it gets kind of really sticky. Any questions with any of this?
Just a minute.
Probably been
fast. I'm curious. Yes.
Oh, darn. Looked like it was working. That's just like that other piece of, it feels like there's some other code doing something, because we did get the result we expected and it did show it. But there's something else running to rehide it. So Marina, we can troubleshoot that later. I don't want to get into that right now, but this is essentially, I think this is working, and we just need to figure out why it's disappearing.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, look it. There it is. Was it just because it scrolled me down a little bit?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so it wasn't really a I guess it was always there. It's just for whatever reason the scroll is off. Well, cool. Yeah, play around with that, Marina. Let me know if there's any bugs with it, and we can dig into it deeper. But I think that should work.
Thank you.
And for everyone else, like, I love to be able to have real problems to solve. So if you're running into things, let me know, and we can solve them now. Berno, I know you've sent me some stuff. I think it's mostly not JavaScript related, so we'll handle it later. But I should have kind of had my office hours hat on when I was thinking about those problems. So cool. So we have maybe 30 minutes left. Let's just do a few things. So I've been working on this project. It's called WealthWave. The big issue with it that I've had to run into is just like going through a number of steps in a process. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of dig into that a little bit. So one thing I want to do is just be able to start generating the UI with JavaScript, and we can kind of talk through some of the issues with that. Because what I found myself doing quite often is just like generating the JavaScript, generating the HTML in JavaScript in order to handle some of the states. What I later went back to is just like going back to Webflow and creating the different states in HTML and just hiding and showing. So that is how I generally recommend it, but there are a number of times where you want to actually insert HTML. So let's start talking through that. I have not done this ever, but I've definitely loaded different things, but I thought first let's load some JavaScript or some CSS so that we have something to work with. So I'm going to go to wealthwave1.webflow, and I'm just going to grab this CSS. And that will give us something to work with as we start creating different pages. And so this is the Webflow version of this. What we're doing is we're taking the Webflow version, we're using our West tool to throw it into a Ruby on Rails app, and then we're writing custom code to handle a lot of the different pieces. So here you have a basic and a pro plan, and so you can click, and when you click on basic plan, it's just updating. You just have to like see a screen. When you hit the pro plan, you have to go through a credit card and then through a user flow. So that's kind of what I want to represent is the two card UI. You select one of the two plans. The free plan will just show copy. The paid plan will show a payment form, and then it will show a user form. And then after completing either of those two flows, you get redirected to the home page. And we probably won't get through all of this in the next 30 minutes, but we can start doing some of it. And the first thing I want to do is let's go to my project. I put it in here. So here I have this JS HTML page. If we look, we can just double check to make sure that it is showing up. It is, and looks like I'm getting a bunch of extra stuff too. Yeah, it's all here in this global one. I'm just going to comment that out. So this was originally just like a global project, but then I added the project to it, and so these are all just like global. It's all global code, and I just don't like my. Sorry, I'm not saving these. I don't like my console to be populated with whatever. Simplifies it if it's clean. Okay, let's try that one more time. Cool. Okay, so we're here. I want to dynamically load this this CSS. Can you help me dynamically load a CSS file using jQuery? And I'm going to be, file name is, I'm going to use jQuery a lot. It's going to make this a lot easier than generating elements with just raw JavaScript. Okay, so here we have, so when the document's ready, we get this file, and when we do that, we load it into a style tag. The thing is, the style tag's not on the page yet, so that, oh, and then we're appending it to the head. So we should be good with that. Let's try, and let's see if, so there's that CSS page. I don't see it. So let's double check. So I'm gonna debugger here and see what happens. Okay, so we've got the CSS in this data, and yeah, this is a little curious how it is doing this, but I think that should work. And then appending to the head. Okay, so it is doing it as this this style tag, it looks like, as opposed to, I was assuming it would just create a link tag, but that makes sense. So we now have this. It's going to be a ton of CSS. So let's see if we come here. Let's just do, I'm just going to copy this whole thing. And this is like the really easy piece of using jQuery as opposed to raw JavaScript, is I can just say body.html. I'm going to append it actually. And then I'm going to get just that entire thing. Cool. So like that works, which is really nice. I wouldn't recommend having this much HTML in your JavaScript file, but you'll notice like we've got that first piece done. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's just keep like the basic plan and the button. So it's going to be a little bit ugly because there's a ton of Java or a ton of HTML here. Oops. Okay, so I mean, one thing I could do is I could just say format HTML. This makes it much simpler to pull out what you want. Okay, so we can get rid of all of this. We can, I'm not sure what this script tag is doing. I guess loading a video. So we don't need the video. So that simplifies things a good bit. And since we want two of these, we can just take this now. We can let's comment this out a little bit just to make it easier for us. Show free plan. And I'm going to copy all of this, show paid plan. And we can say paid. We can delete this free forever. You'll notice these, like let's just say this is 2 and this is 1. Okay, so we got those 2 now. One thing we could do probably is grab whatever parent this was in. So if we did plans grid, so what I would do here is I would say dot plans grid. Sorry, I would do body again, and I'm going to append the div that is plans grid. And then instead of the body, I'm going to put this here. Let's see if that works. The one kind of caveat I may run into is like, this is updating the DOM, and hopefully jQuery recognizes that the DOM has already been updated. Okay, cool. So it did work. Let's remove this free forever just so it's more even. Cool. So now when I click on something, like let's just click on basic plan and do something. So I'm going to use this data attribute, so data plan with that. And down here, you'll notice like this is going to just be a ton of JavaScript, which it's not going to be that easy to read, but while I wouldn't do all of this in like we're doing it today, I do pieces of this every time I write a project. So, okay, so on click, on free plan, click. So we're gonna get this, and I've been using this data attribute selector all the time more recently. So you just need to have in square brackets whatever it is. I could also do like this, and that would add the click event to both of them, which we should probably refactor to, but let's start with this. So on click, we're going to do something. And I think what we want to do is we just want to hide the plan grid. And we can append to the body again some HTML. So we'll just say lorem ipsum we'll say class of free plan content. And you'll notice I have my tick marks a little bit off. So just below the escape key, these ones are so useful because you can kind of throw anything in there. You don't have to worry about using single or double quotes in your HTML. Okay, so let's just try that out. So if I click basic plan, that didn't work. Let's make sure my selector is correct. So it's I already have the data plan, so I don't need the button. I was looking for the button within the data plan, but it's just that. Cool. So I probably want to have a back button as well. So let's just add a button here. And let's put it within this. So I could do a p tag around this, and button, go back. I'm going to call this back btn, and we'll also have a finish btn. So let's write a quick click event for this back button. So if I say dot back btn dot on click function, what I would want to do is I'd want to just show this plans grid again. Dot show, and I would want to also hide the free plan content. Hide. And you'll notice I like to hide things before showing things. It can cause a flicker occasionally. Oh, my go back didn't work. So you know how I was talking about we're updating the DOM and it is not recognizing it. So I can do something like this. I can say document and then the selector. And so this is going to start looking for everything within the latest document. And when it finds the back button, it should run this. I believe that's going to be the issue. Cool. So it kind of worked, except for, am I removing? So this plans grid, I'm surprised it's getting removed. Let's watch the DOM as we do this. Okay, so here we have our plans grid, and I click on basic plan. Okay, so the issue is we're overwriting everything when we do this because we're doing HTML when we should do append. And then it shouldn't get rid of that extra, or the plans grid. Okay, so lorem ipsum and go back. Perfect. Does that all make sense? Any questions? Is this useful at all?
I have one. So if we use HTML, it will override everything we did like with the HTML before.
Yeah, so it's taking this body and it's rewriting all of the HTML within this body.
Okay.
We're appending everything, so this is a little bit weird, but like you'll notice we have all of this stuff that's usually at the bottom. We could also prepend it, and that would put it at the top. But given this hasn't been an issue. Okay, so let's quickly, running out of time, but let's just do the this first steps of getting a paid plan going. So we can take all of this. We could do this. We could have a single click. Let's refactor this to make it more general. And so now this click event is going to happen on anytime you click on the data plan, and there should be 2 of those. And we can say if this dot data, I always forget how this works. I think it's this for jQuery. The other thing you could do is just do attr, and that's going to get any attribute. If this equals this, the value of this one right here of the free plan, then we do this part of it, And if it's the other one, then we do something different. And you'll notice like, okay, I'm doing this twice, so why don't we refactor that? And if it's going to be hidden every time this is clicked, then I know I can just have that pushed to the beginning. So instead of free plan content, let's do paid plan content. And we'll say paid lorem ipsum, and we'd put an input. And this would be this credit card number. Oops. Input is self-closing, I believe. We could also put a label. If we wanted to use these styles, let's get this here. We'll just copy it over. And then the back button is going to, we can use a single back button probably and get away with it. Let's see. And then we'd show that. Yeah.
Label you just close with a tag and not the label. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So basic plan, go back. Sorry. It's not quite working, is it? So the basic should be, let's see what we have going on. So this should be paid plan, one thing. This data plan's different. I'm a little surprised this isn't. So paid plan content, lorem ipsum. Okay, so there's that one. So when I click on this, I can now check this logic, which seems like it should be right. It's false. So let's see what this is giving me. It's undefined. So I've screwed up. Oh, it's data plan, that's not data cancel. So let's try this with data plan. Okay, so that was a typo. I've been working on the cancellation of the plan, so I've got that stuck in my mind. Okay, so now this should work. Okay, so basic, go back, paid, go back. Cool. So that piece is working. We could now, let's go back in here. So we could add validation to this. And then instead of a finish, we could have a new state that would be continue. And so we'd say continue on this. And so then we'd add a continue button that let's see, on plan click, on continue click. I think we wanted to do document.on click. So I've never noticed a performance issue, but the browser is doing more work by having this on the document. I think I could change this to just be a parent of this that is not getting changed, but I just know this kind of always works, so I tend to do it. So when we click on this, we're going to hide this paid plan content. And then we would append something new. So we would say paid plan, user, content. And this could be the username. And so we'd want to make a few updates here. Not that this will be showing. This placeholder would, and then so the back button, this is a little bit of a problem because this back button is going to be working here. So we could have back paid button, and this continue button could be finish, or what did we have? Yeah, this finish button. And so then we can write a click event on this finish button, dot on click, and so I think this should be also document. And then we can do window.location equals, let's go to the root of the domain. So we would also write a click event for this. I'm going to skip that for now. Let's just see if we're good on that. I'd also need to click event on this to go back a single screen. Okay, so basic, if I finish, you'll notice I go to the home screen. If I continue, I get the username, I continue, and I go to the home screen. So that's all good. This go back's not working yet, but we could do that. Should we do that real quick? Fairly simple. So we just do the, well, it might be a little bit more complex because we have to think about what we want to show. So we'd want to show this paid content. And the plan grids would continue to be hidden. I don't think we have to do that. And the paid plan content needs to be hidden. Okay, so we can go, yeah, so now we can kind of navigate through that. Obviously, you'd want to write some validation on this. And we'd want to add additional things. Okay, there we ran into an issue. Oops. I think it was just because the back button. Okay, so paid plan, credit card, username. So this will go to the home screen. Yeah. The back button, that issue we saw was because the back button just caches everything. And so yeah, you'd probably want to do something to handle the back button, but I think we'll worry about that another day. So we're about at time. Any questions with this? Does it kind of make sense? Like that you can just, the place where I'd be writing HTML a lot is sometimes you just need a notification. And so if you're going through a form, write that HTML, show it, hide it. You can add click events to it. Yeah, again, like having this whole flow be written with JavaScript is not exactly right. But these concepts of putting HTML onto the page and doing stuff with that HTML, whether it's hiding it or adding click events or showing it, is all very common and something you guys are probably already using to a degree. If there's no comments, we'll leave it at that. Cool.
Thank you.
Good seeing everyone. Lemmy and I are going to race to get a few updates done to Wealth Wave 1, and then we'll be shipping it up to the customer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chat soon.
Yep.
Bye.
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 Thank you.